Janabalabha Girivaradari Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjanaya Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjanaya Yamunatira Vanacharya Yamunatira Vanacharya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaura Bhakta Brinda. Reading from the Caitanya Caritamrita, Adi-lila, chapter 9, text number 51. E malakarakaya e prema phala Niravadi Matarahe Vivasa Vivala. E Malakarakaya E Premapala. Niravadi Matarahe Vivasa Vivala. E Malakarakaya E Premapala. Niravadi Mate Rahe Vivasa Vivala. A. This. Malakara. Great gardener. Kaya. Eats. A. This. Premafal. Fruit of love of Godhead. Niravadi. Always. Mata. Maddened. Rahe. Remains. Vivasa. As if helpless. Vivala. As if bewildered. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. The great gardener, Lord Caitanya, personally eats this fruit, and as a result he constantly remains mad, as if helpless and bewildered. Please repeat. The great gardener, Lord Caitanya, personally eats this fruit, and as a result he constantly remains mad, as if helpless and bewildered. It is the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to act himself and teach the people. He says, Apani achari bhakti karila prachara. Adi-lila 441. One must first act himself and then teach. This is the function of a real teacher. Unless one is able to understand the philosophy that he speaks, it will not be effective. Therefore, one should not only understand the philosophy of the Chaitanya cult, but also implement it practically in one's life. While chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sometimes fainted and remained unconscious for many hours. He prays in his Shikshastika, Yugayatam namishena chakshusha pravishayatam sunyayatam jagat savam govinda virahename. O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. This is the perfectional stage of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and eating the fruit of love of Godhead as exhibited by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One should not artificially imitate this stage, but if one is serious and sincerely follows the regulative principles and chants the Hare Krishna mantra, the time will come when these symptoms will appear. Tears will fill his eyes, he will be unable to chant distinctly the Maha Mantra, and his heart will throb in ecstasy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that one should not imitate this, but a devotee should long for the day to come when such symptoms of trance will automatically appear in his body. Om Gyantimarantasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshushunmalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpaturubhischa Kripasindubhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Premafal. This verse and another verse before are considered Shrutifal, the fruit of hearing. So by attending, hearing this discussion, one gets special benefits, special blessings, the fruits of hearing. And Lord Chaitanya, he's displaying the fruits of prema. He ate the fruits. He became intoxicated with love of Godhead, acting as if helpless and bewildered. It's actually said that there are two types of lovers of God. Those who are there with God, experiencing, and those who are hearing about such interactions. So simply by hearing, rendering submissive oral reception to these messages, then there are immense blessings to be achieved, immense fruits to be gathered and relished. So I'll try and say something about the particular mood Lord Chaitanya is displaying, the particular attitude of the author, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, in writing these works, and the attitude of the living entity when he comes in contact with such things. Everybody acts according to a particular philosophy or an attitude, an impression of who they are and what is their goal in life. So there are many different varieties of behavior in this world of repeated birth and death, of temporary pleasure and ignorance. People try and make themselves happy by following some goal, some idea, something they've learnt from their peers, from their childhood, from their previous experiences. This is the way to be happy. And depending upon their karma, their situation, the modes that are influencing them, then they display certain behavior. Some are more animalistic, some are less than human, some are completely in a dreamlike state, completely out of touch with reality, but still they are aspiring to become happy, and their happiness, so-called happiness, stems from their attitude, from their aspirations. They're happy. A person who is just mentally challenged, I think is the correct way to speak now. The people who maybe in institutions, they feel happy if they can get the spoon with the food from their plate to their mouth rather than somewhere else. If they can use a telephone, they derive great happiness. They've achieved something wonderful. So their realm of existence is quite limited, is simple, and is restricted by the modes, by the karma, by their situation. From a transcendental point of view, from a shastric point of view, persons who are limited, living entities who are limited by such situations, have acted impiously in previous lives. They're suffering the results of their past impious activities. And they can rally against it. They can rise above it somehow or other, but the first point has to be that they have to accept their situation. why they're here. You can't complain. You can't complain. You can't blame somebody else. How come I'm in this situation? If it's possible to get some help and some assistance, some answers, then this is an indication that some piety is present. Otherwise, people are condemned. They're locked up in straitjackets. They're put in chemical straitjackets. They're put into. They're incarcerated. They're bound like the living entities in the body of the tree. They are destined to live out a certain life. They can't move. They can't express themselves so much. They have to tolerate so many inconveniences. So with some piety, with some hope of a better life, living entities start to progress. They can progress. They can develop. They can improve their lot. Pious activities, rather than impious, sinful activities, follow some sort of regulation. They follow some attitude of like a higher guidance, some direction, and by not necessarily immediately experiencing happiness, but by proceeding steadily on a prescribed path, then the quality of their life can change. We're born into a certain set of circumstances. We have a certain karma. We have a certain conditioning. We have a certain set of likes and dislikes. We have a certain set of senses, and the attractions for the senses. Those things they don't change so much. They can be influenced, but there's some inherent, not inherent. There are some ground parameters that we're controlled by. What we like to drink, what we like to eat, the place we live in, where we're born, certain circumstances like that, they control our destiny. They can, when we apply some piety, some higher aspirations, they can be modified. The quality can be adjusted. We don't have to have the lowest base quality to our existence. Our happiness can improve. But it's said also that we have an allotted amount of happiness and we have an allotted amount of distress. That understanding that distress is going to come, we don't go searching for it, same way as we shouldn't go searching for happiness. It's just our due lot in life. We have a certain amount of happiness, and one in order to cope with our situation, then an attitude of being satisfied with the happiness and distress is more congenial. We're not in anxiety. Why is this happening to me? Why is that happening to me? Why can't I be like this? Why can't I get more of this? So satisfaction is a more balanced platform. To be able to be satisfied indicates again some piety. Pious activities, karmakanda activities are considered to be pious activies, where we're performing some prescribed duty in expectation of some fruits, some result. If we regularly do some service for a higher benefit, if we serve somebody selflessly, if we serve without considering our own needs, then we will get uplifted in due course of time. Higher than pious activities is religious activities. When God or a conception of a supreme being appears on the horizon, we start to engage in some type of religious activities. And there's many different types of religion, many different types of religious paths, many different religious practitioners. They have different conceptions of happiness, of satisfaction. We once went to America on a mission, Sankirtan mission, and it was in Texas. There's a big Baptist belt there. So in order to try and meet some people, we thought, well, let's go to church. Some pious people. And we sat through the sermon. I think there was 3 speakers. And the end goal of all of their encouragement was, the Lord loves a cheerful giver. They were all trying to encourage all of their congregation to give something to the church. And when the bowl went around, the collection bowl, it returned back to the altar practically empty. Nobody was inspired. They were there. They performed their social duties, and as soon as the doors were open and everybody was let out, they rushed outside. They grabbed their cigarettes. They jumped in their car and they went off to do something else. There wasn't so much result of their activities. So we were quite impressed by the lack of spirituality in that religious gathering. We didn't bother going back there again. Higher than religion, and there's many different types of religion. They have certain goals. They're thinking about God. Higher than religion is a spiritual level of belief and attitude, understanding the nature of spirit. Spirit is different to matter. The essential understanding of spiritual knowledge is that I'm not this body. I'm not this body. I'm not matter. Matter is temporary. The soul, spiritual me, is eternal. So then, understanding where we've come from and what is our nature, we try and act as a spirit soul. We try and utilize our propensity to please the Supreme Spirit rather than trying to indulge in matter, trying to enjoy matter. And then higher than spiritual aspirations is devotional aspirations. To please, to associate with the Supreme Spirit in a mood of love, not expecting anything in return. The quality of love is there's different qualities of love, but the topmost type of love is selfless love. And in the material world, the love of a mother for her child is the highest exhibition of that selfless love that we can see in the material world. So here Lord Caitanya Mahaprabhu, he has come to demonstrate, to practically demonstrate, to teach, as Prabhupada says in the first part of the purport, to act himself and in such a way to teach the people, to teach people who they are and how to re-establish their lost loving relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the topmost mood. In the topmost mood. So, a teacher is recognized by a student and then accepted when that student has humility and doesn't think that they know everything, that they need a teacher, that they are willing to submit to the guidance of a teacher, that they can benefit from a good teacher. Institutional schooling, I think it's called. is what is the system in most of the countries now. Institutionalized schooling. It's not much better than a child minding, or not even a very good child minding service, just to keep them out of trouble. I've heard some teachers who are sincere teachers describe that if they have kept peace within the classroom and have been enabled to give some little snippet of progressive knowledge to their students, and they've considered that a successful lesson. It's not educating, it's not giving people life lessons. And Prabhupada, he categorized the modern system as slaughterhouse education, to put people through a process, another brick in the wall, put people through a process, through grist for the mill, so that they get churned out the other end as a product of society which can be manipulated and utilized to further the goals of the society. The tragedy. So people, they're not taught. They can't recognize a proper teacher. So Lord Chaitanya, he behaved acha and pracha. He's not a, and Srila Prabhupada was also exemplifying not a show bottle spiritualist, not a sham. Under the control of the divine energy, not controlled by the material energy, not having material aspirations. So the sadhu is very rare. Lord Chaitanya, the Yuga avatar, but in this particular round of cycle of the what's called Chatur Yuga, Lord Chaitanya himself appears. We're very specially blessed. We've got the original Lord Chaitanya, and he's come to give pure love of God in the mood of the residents of Vrindavan. So he is indicating by this statement, apani achari bhakti karilu prachar. One must first act himself and then teach. Lord Chaitanya, he started off his pastimes, he was acting as a great scholar, a teacher of grammar. And the Vaishnavas, they recognized that he was very great, but they were always praying that he would give up his arrogance, he'd give up his pride in his scholarship, and that if he became a great devotee, then he would be a marvelous person. They were frightened of him. He would be walking down the street, and Lord Chaitanya he had a habit of challenging in his proud grammatical scholastic pastimes. He would challenge them, and so they would walk across the other side of the street. They would try and escape from him. But still they recognized he's a great personality. And eventually it became revealed, Lord Chaitanya allowed people to understand who he was after he met his spiritual master. His spiritual master, he came back from his meeting with his spiritual master, and he was transformed. All of his lessons were just about Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. He told his students, well, I can't speak anything else. If you want to get a different education, then you go to another teacher. But they said, no, we appreciate you so much, we want to stay with you, we'll adopt, we'll surrender, we'll accept what you're teaching. We'll take advantage of your lessons. The 8 verses that Lord Chaitanya left, they're considered his only writings. He propagated his teachings through his disciples, through the Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami. He spent weeks and months describing to them this profound philosophy of service to God, Krishna consciousness. But he himself only wrote down 8 verses, or expressed clearly these 8 verses. And here in the purport, Prabhupada, he's quoting verse number 7 from the Shikshastikam. Yugayatam nimishena chakshusha pravisayatam sunyayatam jagat savam govinda virahena me. And then Prabhupada, "O Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I'm feeling all vacant in the world in your absence." The Shikshastikam prayers, they begin with Cheto Dapanam Mahajanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nivapanam. All glories to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart. So the 8 verses, they are progressive from the beginning right up to the end. Cleansing the heart, beginning by glorifying Krishna, the heart will become cleansed. And then the proper attitude for chanting. Trinadapi Sanichana Taroriva Sahishnuna. In a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street, devoid of all sense of false prestige, ready to offer all respects to others, and not expecting any glorification from them. Then, in such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord 24 hours a day. So, progressive stages. Here, the second to last verse, feeling that separation, actual service in the mood of separation, is considered to be more poignant than actually service in union. And there's madness that's also starts to develop in these higher moods. The appreciation of separation. One of these mad exhibitions of pure love is described to be unmada. Divyonmada is also very one of those top, but unmada, one of those two, is described that Krishna and Radharani, they were nearby each other, but they were so absorbed in trance, in love for each other, that they couldn't recognize that they were sitting right next to each other. They were so insanely absorbed in love, but that they lost themselves. They couldn't recognize their situation, and they were blind. This state of madness, insanity, of bewilderment, helplessness, is the result of chanting and tasting the fruits of love of Godhead. So it's a long way to go. In order to, Prabhupada says, in order to teach, you have to understand the philosophy. In order to speak effectively, you have to understand. So it's beyond us to understand. And actually, it's said that these types of emotions, which are experienced in the mood of bhava and prem, they're too exalted. The material body, we don't have facilities in which to experience these emotions. We can hear about them, we can glimpse them, we can aspire for them, we can know that, tears from our eyes, we know what tears are. We've experienced crying and feeling for people, but the higher levels of pure experience, they're not within our grasp. We can hear about them, we can imagine them, we can see people who are absorbed. And Prabhupada, he, as Lalanath Prabhu said last week, he contained his emotions. He didn't very often display those ecstatic emotions, but occasionally they burst out. And when Prabhupada was questioned, he said, "I don't do that very often, do I? And just chant Hare Krishna. It's not something that is it's not something that is used in order to gain cheap followers, to be able to display these moods of ecstasy. That they're present, and we can hear about them, and we can aspire for them. Even if we do experience some of them, then we continue to engage in our steady prescribed service in order to teach others, in order to give a proper what would you call it, example. Because people at different levels, as I was saying from the beginning. They come from all different walks of life. They're going to challenge, they're going to criticize. So the bottom platform, the lowest common denominator for the devotees is to be satisfied and respectful and responsible and dutiful and engaged in a mood of service to the institution and in service to the ultimate goal of representing ourselves as devotees, servants of Krishna. But still, in due course of time, Prabhupada said, the time will come when these symptoms will appear. We can hear about them. That's some of the fruits of hearing, the Shruti Phal, the fruits of these discussions. We can be aware of them. We can. Often people, they will hear, okay, just by entering a temple, then you are liberated. You walk in the door of the temple and you're liberated. Well, then they wonder, well, what sort of liberation? I walked out the door and I'm not liberated anymore. So the fruits which we will achieve in due course of time. There's no time, no date. Sometimes people are looking in the scriptures for an exact description of how I should behave. On Thursday afternoon at 12:59, you should walk out of the temple and you should go and approach this person who's going to walk past, and you should gain the topmost instructions from them. The scriptures, they don't work like that. You have to be able to be intuitive and sensitive and purified and wait for the realization. You have to discover within the scriptures the truth that is there available for you. People have asked, okay, I want to hear about the Karmakanda section. Where is that section of the Vedas? There is no section. It's just for study purposes that they're described to be in sections and progressive stages. It's woven in between. The scriptures are described, and the bhakti scriptures are described to be crooked. It's a crooked path, like the hind leg of a dog. The hind leg of a dog, you can't straighten it. It's crooked. So the path of bhakti, the path of devotion, it's not clearly visible. It's a secret. It's an open secret, but nonetheless it's a secret, and it requires proper pre-qualification in order to get access to that secret. And that's the process of chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And trying to understand the mood of our spiritual master and the previous acharyas, and trying to act in accord with their desires to please them, and consequently get their blessings so that we can get the fruit of the prema-phal, the fruit of love of God, in due course of time. So I'll just read the verse again. E malakarakai e prema-phal, niravadi materai vivasa vival. The great gardener, Lord Caitanya, personally eats this fruit, and as a result he constantly remains mad, as if helpless and bewildered. Does anybody have any questions or any comments? In Kali Yuga, the Lord is known as Tri Yuga. He appears in 3 yugas. In Kali Yuga he appears in a covered form. There's different colours for the different incarnations, red, blackish, golden, and I think green, golden. So in other Kali Yugas, then the golden avatar, he appears, Pitta-gu, and he might not necessarily be the original Lord Chaitanya. In this particular millennium, cycle of millenniums, then it's the original Lord Chaitanya who's come. And so we're very fortunate if we realise that and we can take advantage of that.
So
first time he's appeared.
Original, does that mean it's the first time? Something about Instagram was the original worship.
Yeah, that's the original worship. I haven't heard there's an original Lord Caitanya and a non-original, but I haven't read that. I think we asked Anuma one time about that. Well, Lord Caitanya appears after Krishna, so that's very rare. I haven't heard that other forms of Lord Caitanya that are not original, and this one's the original.
I think it's the Yuga avatar. That the Yuga avatar, and distinctly from Lord Chaitanya, he comes as the Yuga avatar. So it's in different Kali Yugas. Then there's a golden avatar. Or there's an avatar who has a yellowish form.
Oh, and that's, I mean, you know, so but I think the point is that, well, if you're saying he's an original Lord Chaitanya, who are the other Lord Chaitanya?
Yeah. So that term, the word original, is not necessarily correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It means it in a nice way.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Gaura Premanandi.